Shalom, shalom, all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. I just want to come talk about the marriage covenant that Tobias and Sarah had in the Apocrypha. You know, so a lot of people, say that it's talking about a marriage paperwork that we do today, like when you go to the courthouse, you write it out, stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not telling nobody that that is a sin, but what Tobit, the book of Tobit is talking about is totally different from what we do today in this Roman American society. And I'm gonna get to the marriage papers too on that too. But I just really want to jump into the topic. So this is on Tobit chapter 6 verse 10. It says, I'm gonna start verse 9. And when they went and they were come from near to Rages, the angel said to the young man, so this is Raphael, the archangel. He was disguised as a man, and he met Tobit and Tobias because Tobit told Tobias to go to the place and get the money from the man, that's his cousin, and so forth and so forth. It says, we shall lodge with Ragul, that's Tobias cousin, who is thy cousin. He also have one only daughter named Sarah. I will speak for her that she may be given thee for a wife, right? So, the plan and purpose was for Sarah to marry Tobias. It says, for to thee doth the right of her appertain, seeing thou art only art. Let me read that again. For to thee doth the right of her appertain, seeing thou only art of her kindred, right? Of her father's household, right? So everything back then was done to the heads of the fathers, to the tribes, we had inheritance, we had our own land, yes. For our black Americans that does not know, we actually did have our own land, we actually had inheritance, that we passed down from generation to generation. It says, and the maid is fair and wise. Now therefore hear me, and I will speak to her father. And when we return from Rages, we will celebrate the marriage. For I know that Ragul cannot marry her to another according to the law of Moses. But he shall be guilty of death, because the right of inheritance doth rather appertain to these than to any other, right? So Raphael is simply stating what the law of Moses says, not what America says, with marriage certificates, that the inheritance doesn't go from tribe to tribe. Because if this young lady Sarah would have married somebody from another tribe of the northern kingdom, because this is during the exile of Assyria. So if this young woman would have married somebody from the tribe of Dan, her inheritance or her father's inheritance would have went away from among Israel, and the Lord, specifically wrote a law, because this thing already happened before with the brother that had 5 daughters, and I'm gonna get into that, So, right, so, if he didn't give her to Tobias, he would have been guilty of death, letting you know that there were certain sins that you committed that you couldn't repent from, right? So I'm gonna go and talk about that, in Numbers 27. Let's get that real quick. Numbers 27. Let's start off, first and foremost, what is Raphael talking about? This is Numbers 27, verse 1. Then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. So if I'm pronouncing it wrong, forgive me. It says, and these stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest and before the princes and all the congregation by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, our father died in the wilderness. He was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin and had no sons. So realize this. Zelophehad had 5 daughters. He did not have a son, because automatically a man's inheritance would have went to his son, It says, why should the name of our father be done away with from among his family, because he have no son? Because it goes from the father to the son. Give unto us therefore a possession among the brethren of our father. And Moses brought their cause before the Lord. So Moses like, hey, this actually, needs to be talked about. So we're going to go to the Most High and talk to him. And the Lord spake unto Moses, the daughters of Zephaniah speak right. So they're telling the truth. Why should their father's name be blotted out and their inheritance be given to another tribe because he doesn't have a son? It says, thou shalt surely give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them, right? It says, and thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter, right? So the brother Ragul had Sarah. He didn't have no other child. It was just her. So his inheritance was finna go to her. She couldn't marry nobody that was outside of the tribe of Naphtali, because their inheritance would have went to another tribe. That's totally going against what the Lord literally just said. So Raphael is trying to tell Tobias this. It says, and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, ye shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. And if his father have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him of his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgment, as the Lord commanded Moses. This is serious. This is something that the Lord said, the Most High. So when he's telling him that, seeing thou only art of her kindred, y'all are from the same household, and this girl's inheritance is important because it cannot go to another tribe. So Tobias was supposed to marry Sarah to keep the inheritance inside the tribe of Naphtali, because the northern kingdom were exiled to Assyria, and this is during the Assyrian captivity, right? So now I want to go to Tobit chapter 7, I don't know why I just closed the book of Tobit, but let's go back to Tobit. And now let's go to chapter 7. So I hope somebody is understanding what the real purpose of, Tobias marrying Sarah. It has nothing to do with the marriage certificate that people go to the courthouse and write today. That is a ancient Roman custom. I'm gonna put it on the screen, or I'm gonna try to put it in this video too. It says, Tobit chapter 7, I'm going to start at verse 11. It says, I have given my daughter in marriage to 7 men who died that night they came in unto her. Nevertheless, for the present be merry. But Tobias said, I will eat nothing here till we agree and swear one to another. So, and Ragul said, then take her from henceforth according to the manner, for thou art her cousin. She is thine, and the merciful God give you good success in all things, right? Because he's her cousin. He's her nearest kinsman, okay? Then he called his daughter Sarah, and she came to her father, and he took her by the hand and gave her to be wife to Tobias. Behold, take her after the law of Moses and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed them, right? So I'm going to pause the video right here, and I'm going to flip the screen so I'm not lying. I'm going to let every matter be established by the words of the Most High. So let me cut the camera real quick. So you see right here, look, it says, behold, take her after the law of Moses and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed them. So he said, take her according to the law of Moses. That's Numbers. Look right there. That's number. Look at that. That's a D right there. That's a footnote. It says Numbers 36, verse 6. So this man Ragul is telling him, do it according to the custom of the law of Moses. Meaning, so our inheritance doesn't go from tribe to tribe. This girl had to marry Tobias for their inheritance to not go from tribe to tribe, so it can stay between their father's house, which is in the tribe of Naphtali. It's not talking about marriage certificates today. Right, so this is the part of the video I wanted to show. So when people say that Tobit is talking about marriage certificates, what we do today, that's, what I would say better for lack of understanding, you know what I'm saying? Because when you look it up, it says, yes, formal marriage contracts and certificates originated or were heavily utilized by ancient Rome, right? So all this was ancient, what they do today in marriage certificates right now, in the courthouse, that, hey, this is my wife, that's an ancient Roman custom. Like I say all the time, or with brothers, sincere brothers around the world that's teaching this truth and sincerity, that, we got to let go of this Babylonian Roman mindset. We got to come back to the ways of being born again by the commandments with the washing of water by the word. We got to let everything go that we have been taught in this land, America. That is not our custom. Tobit is not talking about marriage certificates. That's talking about tribal inheritance does not go from tribe to tribe. It's not talking about go to the courthouse and get married. That's not our custom. That is an ancient Roman custom. You can obviously see when you read 1 Maccabees, the 8th chapter, that literally that this place does the exact same thing as ancient Rome. This like, that's how you know that we have to truly, like Paul said, learn again, Right, so we're done with that part. So you see, obviously, and let's finish it out. It says, and called Edna his wife, and took paper, and did write an instrument of covenants, and sealed it, right? So, you know what I'm saying? It has a footnote, that's telling us that it's talking about Numbers 36, verse 6. So, obviously, we have to go and see what she actually, wrote on a piece of paper and sealed it. Let's go to Numbers 36. This is Numbers 36, verse 1. I'm sorry, verse 1 for context. And the chief fathers of the families of the children of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of the sons of Joseph, came near and spake before Moses and before the princes, the chief fathers of the children of Israel. And they said, the Lord command my Lord to give the land for an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel, and my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance of Zelophehad our brother unto his daughters. So it says, and if they be married to any of the sons of the other tribes of the children of Israel, then shall the inheritance be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and shall be put to the inheritance of the tribe whereunto they are received. So shall it be taken from the lot of our inheritance, right? So this is why the Lord already been said that literally that, hey, I want y'all, if a man dies in Israel, has no son, give the inheritance to his daughters and let them marry between their tribe, let them marry between their tribe, and this is the same thing that literally Sarah is about to do. She's marrying Tobias because the inheritance shouldn't pass from tribe to tribe. If her father Ragul would have gave her to a man of another tribe and their inheritance would have went to another tribe, he would have died to death by the penalty of the law of Moses. That's all it's talking about. It's not talking about going to a courthouse and getting married. A lot of people think that, but that's not the actual correct understanding. Like I said, this Bible right here is a very reliable. You get this on Amazon for about $125. Last time I seen, that's how much it's going for. But I paid almost $150 for this Bible. But it's a great Bible because it actually has footnotes that tell you where people are talking about. So I understand that, the book of Tobit is not actually talking about a marriage certificate. It's talking about inheritance not going from tribe to tribe. Let's keep going. Verse 5, it says, and Moses commanded the children of Israel according to the word of the Lord, saying, the tribe of the sons of Manasseh have said well. This is the thing which the Lord doth command concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, let them marry to whom they think best, only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry. Sarah could not marry nobody that was not from the tribe of Naphtali. She could not marry somebody that was from the tribe of Manasseh, Ephraim, Zebulon. You know, she couldn't do that because the inheritance would have passed from her father's inheritance would have went to another tribe that's going against the law of Moses. And it says, so shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe, for every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter that possesseth an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father. That means Sarah had to marry Tobias because they were from the same tribe. She couldn't marry somebody that was from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin. She couldn't marry somebody that was from, you know, another tribe in the northern kingdom. It says that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of his fathers, neither shall the inheritance remove from one tribe to another, but every one of the tribe of the children of Israel shall keep himself to his own inheritance. Even as the Lord commanded Moses, so did the daughters of Zelophehad, right? So that's it on that. So I hope you got something from this. The book of Tobit, what Edna did, writing on the piece of paper and sealed it with covenants, that is according to the law of Moses in Numbers 36. That's all she was writing that paper for. That the inheritance of Ragul does not go to another tribe, but that she has a rightful heir, which is Tobit's son Tobias, her cousin, and they married each other to keep the inheritance from going tribe to tribe. That's all it's talking about. It's not talking about, you know, this modern day Roman society, you know, because a lot of people say that, oh, that's talking about marriage certificate. No, it's not. No, it is not. That's why it's so important to study to show yourself approved. That is not what it's talking about. But with that, I digress. I give all honor and praise to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. I'm going to say shalom, keep enduring.